Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
I have a very special guest. I've been waiting for her. If you've ever heard this wonderful woman, you will absolutely never forget her. And it's all to do with hearing. And I think that MICHANNE Davidson is really rare. And I have been in the field myself, and I have to tell you that usually you go into an office, and yes, and they perform hearing tests, and yes, you have someone, hopefully very nice, and they care about you. But there's something in MICHANNE's genes, not her Jeans, but her Genes, that make her so loving and she's so well educated as an audiologist. So, MICHANNE, after you get rid of your pink face from blushing,
right?
I need to tell you, though, that everything you've told me, all these extra things that you do for people, that's just so rare in this field. I don't know why, but it is.
Well, okay. I agree. I wish it were not rare, but I take this profession so seriously. It's so close to my heart. And it was interesting. I was at a course in Chicago 2 days ago, and it was a bunch of professionals like myself. And I got up and spoke, and I said, it was a lot of new ones. And I said, you have to look at your patient as your partner, that you're their partner. And if they really feel that you're with them all the way to do the absolute very best you can to give them the very best result to improve their life, I said, they're going to want to work with you and stay with you forever. But they have to feel that. And that's really, you have to make that connection with your patients. And I feel it. And that's
I know
the
you
point
do.
I'm trying to get across.
There's one thing that we were talking about, especially now. I don't want to date this particular show, but because we do have this famous wedding occurring, I notice all the English accents, whether it's on television. And how does that work with someone who, let's say they're doing okay with hearing, not great, but okay? How do people hear those English accents?
Are you referring to why they have difficulty with the accents? Is that what you're asking me?
Oh, yeah.
Well, the reason is when you don't hear all of the sounds of speech because you have hearing loss, your brain has to make very quick guesses to fill in the blanks. And this is how I explain it to patients. It's going to fill in the blanks with what's in your memory. And your memory for most of us in America would be an American accent. So when someone is speaking with a different accent than what your brain's used to, you cannot fill in the blanks correctly. So it's such a common thing that patients say, I'm hearing great now, except when someone has a foreign accent. And I said, that's because it's just too strange to your data banks. So in those cases, it often helps if you're, for instance, watching television and you're watching this royal event going on, if you have closed caption on. Because that way, if there is a sound that is pronounced so differently than what your brain is used to, you can visually read it and compensate for that. And of course, with hearing loss, it's not corrected. It's 10 times worse. But even when it's corrected, as people with normal hearing, as an example, there are some things that you just don't quite get when it's not in your native language or the native accent you're used to.
I want to just tell you that MICHANNE Davidson, as I mentioned, is an audiologist, and she's the owner of Active Life Hearing. I'm going to continue to give you a phone number to make that phone call because, number one, we have listeners who've never had hearing aids and need them. And then we have listeners who have hearing aids and they're not working right, and you need to go see MICHANNE. And I cannot stress this more. They have three offices, one in Coral Springs, one in Boca, and one in Boynton Beach. And MICHANNE's phone number, just to get you to make that phone call, is 561-221-0450. Call there and they'll set up the appointment. And I'm going to keep doing this with you because I am very, very, very excited about what MICHANNE does. I wanted to talk about something else that you were saying earlier to me. There are so many devices now, and most people, they don't even have to be elder. You get very confused, and you know so much about this, which is great, and you're so willing to help people. I never heard of a hearing specialist, an audiologist even, no less, not an audiologist, even a hearing specialist will go to someone's home and help them. What is it with you?
Well, it's not uncommon for people that are older to not have experience with technology. And those things that I've been doing for years, I'm used to it. It's easy for me. And if I have someone that needs a little extra help, something at home, like setting up a special streaming device for their television or their telephone, to think that they have no one to call to come in and help them, I just can't live with that. I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. So, for instance, I had a lovely lady. She's actually pretty good with technology, but she couldn't set up her Bluetooth television device. And she said, I make great cappuccino. And I said, I'll be there in 5 minutes. I set up her television device in 5 minutes, and we had a lovely visit with the best cappuccino I think I've ever had. And it was just a lot of fun. And the other thing is, I look at every patient as they could be my mom, they could be my sister, they could be my aunt or my dad. So when you look at people that way, it's pretty easy to help them.
And talk about the Bluetooth. because we know we have them in our cars, but how does it affect somebody with their television?
Right. It's funny, a lot of people don't even know why they're hearing out of their cars. So Bluetooth is an encrypted radio signal that allows a personal device to pair with your hearing aids or your phone, etc. So nowadays, because most hearing aids, at least the fairly sophisticated ones, they have this wireless technology built within them. We have ways to connect other devices in your homes to them. Example, your television typically doesn't have the best sound system. Televisions have very tiny speakers, and they're not very robust or have very great fidelity, very good fidelity. So even with hearing aids, sometimes you just cannot hear the TV as clearly as you'd like. You hear it better with hearing aids, but still you might be missing. For a couple $100, you can get a little small box that just very easily plugs into the back of the television that takes the sound from your television and directs it directly into the hearing aids. It's a direct connection. And that way you can hear the TV crystal clearly, but still be able to converse with people that are watching the television with you. In the past, people would wear these big headphones, which they're great, but they isolate you from people in the room. Now, if it's the guy watching the football game and he wants to be isolated, that's one thing. But if it's a couple that want to, talk about what's happening, on a news program, or do you like that movie, or comment with each other during programs, being able to stream directly into the hearing aids allows them to hear the television clearly, and still hear the person next to them clearly. And it's awesome.
Well, you brought something into my mind. So when I go to theaters, they do have very special hearing assisted, you get these and you can hear so clearly. What do people do at movies if they can't hear properly?
Well,
besides wear their hearing aids?
Right. Well, for instance, at the local movie theater in Boca Raton, the one that's by the airport, I took my mom there because I went there on purpose. I don't live near there, but I wanted to test out some of the devices they have.
And do they have devices at the movies? I didn't know that.
They do. And they had one that I loved. It looked like a gooseneck lamp. And they hand it to you, and you sit it in the cup holder where your drink goes, and it gives you a closed caption version of what you're watching. So you can listen to the movie, and with your hearing aids on, you're hearing it much better. But if you miss a word or two, which even normal hearing people do, you just look down at that little screen, and you can see exactly what they just said.
Well, I never heard of that.
Thank you. And they're free. You just have to go by the management office, and they'll hand it to you, and they'll even walk down and set it up for you, and boom, ready to go.
Okay, so my next question, I've been saving these up for you, MICHANNE.
Okay.
Because we know the last 20 years or even longer, people have been going to these rock concerts, and they've been, the music is just not to be believed, as you know. Are they being affected now? Are you seeing people like that coming in for hearing aids?
Not only that, I have to raise my own hand because I've tested my own hearing, and, I was from that era. I went to a lot of those loud concerts. My first one at age 12 was the Rolling Stones, believe it or not. And I have high-frequency hearing loss myself. I'm not ready for hearing aids yet based on the loss, but probably in a couple years, even though I'm fairly young for that, and I'll probably need them because of it. But certainly, yes, I'm seeing younger and younger people with noise-induced hearing loss that have to have hearing aids at a much younger age.
I heard the I guess I watched the other night the rock and roll fame, rock and roll Hall of Fame, and they have Bon Jovi, and they had I forget the other name, Motley
Crue.
Yeah, they had they had just great
Who knows?
people.
I didn't see the show yet.
But anyway, and even now the music was so loud.
I know. It's so funny. A lot of the old rockers, the performers themselves, are now spokespeople for hearing aid companies. Huey Lewis from Huey Lewis and the News, Roger Daltrey from The Who. You see them working for hearing aid manufacturers because they're now wearing hearing aids and are spokespeople for these companies.
So let's say this happened to you. So hearing aids today can correct the problems that you incurred.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Even those high-frequency hearing losses, which are those high-tone hearing losses, which are noise-induced. In the past, there wasn't a lot we could do with those. And now it's with digital technology, we can correct almost everything.
So when you do we all start out, or you have to start out with a hearing test.
Of course.
And the hearing test shows you, why don't you talk about, so people are a little nervous when they go into this room, what you're really doing for them?
Well, first of all, for the examination, we want to determine if there's anything medically treatable, because certainly if they have a type of hearing loss that could be corrected with medication or surgery, we would want to refer them to the proper medical person to take care of that. And if not, if it's something that cannot be corrected medically or surgically, we certainly want to offer them the opportunity to get back their hearing or to get back normal functionality. And that's what I do in the test. And also try to help them understand what's happening to them, because often they'll say, I think I hear fine, but so many people mumble today. And I'll say, they don't mumble as much as you think, but that is what happens. That's what your perception is when you're only getting part of a word because of hearing loss. Your perception is that they're mumbling. Or I had someone even yesterday, everyone speaks so softly. It's like they're whispering all the time. And I said, I promise you they're not whispering, but it sounds like that to you. I had someone with a 50% hearing loss that came in yesterday, never worn hearing aids, and just said, if people just would speak louder, I would be fine, but they're all whispering, And I said, let me put some hearing aids on you, because I love to demonstrate those things in the office. And I will walk down the hall, 20, 30 feet down the hall with their back to me and talk to them in a normal voice and have them repeat words and just chat with me. And then I'll have usually an assistant take off the hearing aids while I'm talking, and they'll say, what happened? I don't hear you. And I said, I haven't changed my voice. I'm speaking the same way. And then I'll have them put the hearing aids back on while I'm still talking. And then they'll say, oh my gosh, I get it now.
Yeah,
sometimes you have to prove it.
You're very good at that. You do a lot of demonstrations, which I absolutely love. Let's talk about the radio in cars. Now, my radio is really good. I hear very well, but I thought I was losing my hearing. I had a rental car, and while my car is being repaired, I didn't hear very well. So it was probably the speakers.
Correct. Probably poor fidelity in the speakers. Yeah.
Right, and because you wonder, there is a lot of noise in cars anyway.
Right.
But I really got worrying about that. But then I got back into my car. It was perfect.
Right. And that's a great example, because there are many hearing aids available. In fact, I had a guy that brought in an ad for mail order hearing aids for a couple $100. And he said, what's the difference between these and the ones that are, a few $1,000s? He goes, they physically kind of look similar. And I said, and it's the perfect example. I said, well, you could have a stereo that is, $100 stereo, and it's the same size and shape as that $2,000 stereo. But turn them on, one and the other, and you will hear the sound quality difference. And I said, it's the same with hearing aids. More sophisticated electronics and digital processing produces much better clarity and the ability to hear when there's groups of people and noise in the background. I said, it makes a difference.
And so, so now let me repeat again that you're listening to MICHANNE Davidson, and she's such a joy to behold. the thing I love also about you, MICHANNE, is you're bringing your family into your business, which if you have a nice family, there's nothing better than that, is there?
It's awesome. In fact, the newest member of our team is my son-in-law, Paul St. Clair. He started training this week, and he is actually from Louisiana. And I will tell you, we looked for 6 months and could not find anyone that would take on a trainee in Louisiana because they were afraid of the competition. And so I am flying him here every other week to train. He will get his license in Florida, and then we can transfer it to Louisiana. And he's going to open an office for active life hearing in Shreveport, Louisiana, hopefully in about 6 months.
So that's where your daughter lives.
That's where my daughter lives, yes. And they have lovely children. I hate to pull them away from the kids every other week, but they're so afraid of the competition, and they should be, because with our unbundled system, we'll be able to offer the people in Louisiana the wonderful pricing structure we have here and save them thousands there, just like we're doing in Florida.
We're going to get into that in just 1 minute. Let me give everybody a phone number. Why don't you just go, even if you don't think you have hearing loss, just go meet MICHANNE. They'll give you 5 minutes with her, I'm sure, just to say hello and say you heard her on the radio or you read it in Boomer Times. But Active Life Hearing, it's a great name, Active Life. If you're having an active life, you want to go and get your hearing tested. MICHANNE Davidson is an audiologist, and you can reach them. They have 3 offices, but I'll give you one of the phone numbers and then call there. And they're probably not open on the weekend, but you can get to them on the week, during the week. 561-221-0450. 561-221-0450. So my big thing is that you're, you go above and beyond the call of everything. And that's rare. But it is your own business as compared to some of these, I'm not going to name them, but you see them advertised on television. It's a huge corporation, and they have places all over the country. And these are people who are trained to be a hearing specialist. But not only do they not have your education or your experience, but they don't have something that makes you so successful. The compassion and the passion to do good and better things. And you came up with this new idea, which I think you've called bundled.
Or unbundled, right?
Yeah, that's right. Bundled or unbundled.
Right.
And why don't you go through what it's all been and how you've changed that?
Well, typically in the past, when people bought hearing aids, they bought them with a lifetime of service or several years of service included. Because in the past, hearing aids the electronics were not as robust as they are today. So they would require a lot of maintenance and adjustments and things like that. Well, with the advent of digital technology and really good waterproofing ability, hearing aids now really don't require that much follow-up care. They have some simple things we can teach patients to clean them periodically. But honestly, if you've got fairly good dexterity, after the first month of adjustments that we do at no charge, unlimited, patients can pretty much care for those hearing aids on their own and maybe have to come in once or twice a year, and that's it. So with less visits required, I have noticed that people were not lowering the cost of the hearing aids, even though patients were no longer coming in for these constant repetitive visits. So I think we could save some patients money, get more people into really good technology, because let's face it, who doesn't want the best hearing? I mean, do you want to hear as great as you can, or do you want to hear as much as you can afford? Do you see what I'm saying?
Oh, I love
we
that.
Want you to hear
Wait. That's very good. Do you want to hear as best you can or as much as you can afford?
Right.
Oh, my God.
Isn't that sad?
Oh, I've never heard that before.
But it's true.
I think that should be your next headline. Do you want to hear the best you can or as much as you can afford?
Right. So I found that I could lower the cost of hearing aids by unbundling all these service visits that they're not really using anyway. So now what patients would spend for maybe mid-level technology in the past, they can get the very best technology, the absolute most they can get for their hearing. And by simply saying, we're going to unbundle it, you're going to pay for the hearing aids, you'll get no charge visits during your adjustment period, a couple more visits, few more visits during the first year, and then you'll pay a very reasonable low fee for future visits, for the rest of the time that you own your hearing aids. And they save literally thousands that way, but can get the very best, which is what everyone needs. So that's another thing when patients say, what do you think I need? I said, everyone needs the best available hearing, the best available result that they can get. So hopefully
And so
I
if
can bring
someone
that.
can't afford something, are there payment plans?
Yes, I use Care Credit. It's used in many medical
I
and
use
dental
that for my
offices.
dental.
Exactly, and a lot of patients already have it. And I do 12 months no interest financing. And I don't know if people know this. That means I'm paying your interest. So that's
No,
my
I didn't
gift
know
to you.
how that works, as a matter of
It
fact.
means
Is
the
that-
provider is paying the interest for you. That's how it works. So when you get a no interest plan, your provider is taking care of that for you.
Wow.
That's
so
an additional savings for you.
Right. So
Yeah.
if someone says, well, I want the best that I can have, I don't want just what I can afford to hear, right? They can then buy it that way. And so they have really a year to be able to pay that off without having to pay any interest.
Exactly.
And even if they have to pay interest, they now are going to be able to be part of the world.
Exactly.
Because they really do lose the world.
Oh my goodness, yeah. It's being half connected. Who wants to be half connected to the people they love and the things they want to know, and now they can be fully connected. I love it.
And the other thing is, people, though, before they come, they really should have their ears cleaned.
That would be helpful because I when they come in, if I once I inspect their ears, if there's wax that's blocking the way, I have the ability to remove small amounts of wax, but if it's really hard and impacted, they have to use drops and see their medical provider for removal.
I
and
go
then
every
it delays
6
the
months.
process.
I
And
go
that's
every
the
6
best
months
thing.
to an otolaryngologist and get it removed and he shows me the wax that comes out
You're
because
like, wow, right?
yeah, it's true. And you want the wax. I mean, it's healthy, but you should go and get. All right. So now they should remove the wax.
Yes, and don't use Q-tips. Q-tips
Oh.
pack it in. It's like packing gunpowder into the old muskets.
Right.
Your ears will typically naturally slough out the wax unless you're packing it in with Q-tips. So
Okay. So now let's just get someone who's listening and they want to have the best hearing. So they now they figured out how to get their ears cleaned out first. They come to you. The next thing you do is you probably have a little consultation and talk to them before you start a hearing
Right.
test, don't you?
that is probably the most important part of the visit. Hearing testing is not difficult to do. I've been teaching students for 30 years. I can teach someone to do a hearing test in about 20 minutes. Okay. But the most important thing is to get their full history, not only their medical history, but their communication history, and find out what it means to them to have to not hear, and what it would mean to them to have their hearing back. It could be simple things like, I cannot hear my 3-year-old granddaughter. It just sounds like she's mouthing the words. Her voice is so soft and high pitched, and she just now doesn't even try to talk to me because I can't respond. And sometimes we'll sit there and cry together because I'd be like, oh my gosh, I understand. Or it could be, my husband now, these are real stories. I'm not, just giving you examples. These are real stories I hear all the time. My husband has Parkinson's, and his voice is really, really low because he can't produce sound, and I can't hear him call me or talk to me. And so we'll bring the husband in, and when we do set the hearing aids, we'll make sure we set them so when he's talking, the voice comes through. Or sometimes we can even get them these inexpensive little microphones, and the husband can clip it onto his shirt. And so when he's talking, like at a bear, he might be talking like this, that it'll come in loud and clear from even the next room. So we try to find, what are those things that are emotionally causing them problem, the communication problems that are really emotional for them, and those are our target ones. We want to bring those.
That's a
those
great
things
story,
back.
Miss Shan. I had never thought about anything like that, but I'm sure that is true. Thank goodness for texting, right? Now people can, but then some
If
people
they can.
I know their fingers maybe have arthritis, or like with Parkinson's.
Or neuropathy, where they can't feel
That's
it.
true.
Or they don't have the technology. Some
Yes.
people don't have smartphones and they can't hit those buttons.
No, that's
but
true. That's true. So we're really talking about hearing, and we don't want you to just hear what you can afford. I love that. I will never get over that statement. You don't want to get just what you can afford for hearing. You want to get the very best hearing. And now that you can do this, if you have to do it on time, do it. But we know that if you don't hear well, you're missing part of the world. And people, they start, and I know that, they sit at home. They don't want to go because they're embarrassed. They don't want to go out with other people because they don't hear what's going on. And then before you know it, they become a hermit.
A hermit, and other things develop. Depression. I mean, we're social creatures. We're meant to be out there and thriving with a group, social group. And when they start to become isolated, they start to get depressed and give up. And not only that, that can lead to also memory issues. There's a relationship with that, becoming isolated and depressed, and now your brain is not getting the stimulation it needs, and you start to shut down a little bit. So.
Well, you said something very important there. There are a lot of people that don't have memory issues, but they're not hearing anything right. So then it makes it sound like they have memory issues.
Oh, yeah.
They just never heard it to begin with, right?
Exactly, or they heard it incorrectly, so they're misdiagnosed as having some form of dementia or Alzheimer's, or maybe the start of it, and we correct their hearing, and it's like, they remember everything now. My mother is a perfect example. She doesn't forget anything. She's 92. But when she was in the hospital, she had a fall, and I put a sign above her bed that said, I have a severe hearing loss, because she couldn't have the hearing aids in the hospital. Please speak loudly to me. And in fact, I had a talk with a neurosurgeon who did the surgery, and I said, I want you to know this. My mother, the day before she fell, because she was in the hospital for 6 weeks, I said, she put together her own water filter on her sink. I said, I didn't know how to do it, so I left it on her sink, and I was going to call a repairman. I came back the next day. She did it herself. I said, that was 2 days ago, doctor, so I want you to know my mother has no cognitive issues, but she's severely impaired. So she's worth saving. I mean, they had to do emergency surgery to save her life, and I said, I want you to know this one's worth saving because she's very alert, but she just has severe to profound loss. And I would recommend that if you have someone you are caring for or that's in the hospital, put a note above the bed, because many times hospital staffs, they don't understand, and they don't interact with the patient because they think they're not alert, and it's just that they have to get closer and talk to them.
Every time you come on the show, I'm just so thrilled. Well, I want everyone to please go meet MICHANNE. She is really just such a darling person and so smart. MICHANNE Davidson, and the phone number to call is 561-221-0450. And let's just give your website. It's activelifehearing.com?
.us.
.us, right. activelifehearing.us. So you can get on their website, and we certainly we love having you come in every time.
Thank you. I hope I
Yeah, you
enlighten some
do. You
people.
enlighten me, so I know you enlighten other people. Thank you, MICHANNE.
You're welcome.